The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hey everybody, Corey here.
And it's me, Zach.
We wanted to tell you about our new show called The Coscarelli Factor.
You can find it on our Patreon at patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. The Coscarelli Factor covers every single film that Don Coscarelli has directed. And some other little bonus features in there too, like maybe the music videos he directed as well.
That's right. You can find all the episodes under the Auteur de Force tier on our Patreon page. Like Zach said, that's patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. And if you sign up today, you will get access to the complete Carpenter Factor series, where Zach and I went through every single movie that John Carpenter directed, from Dark Star all the way to, well, all the way till the end. So sign up today to our Patreon page and you can unlock all kinds of other things as well, like ad-free episodes and our monthly wrap-up After Dark show.
Patreon helps keep the lights on in the podcasting After Dark world. It gets pretty dark out there at night, and all your support keeps us from getting too scared.
And thank you to everyone who's signed up to our Patreon page. We really appreciate it. And as always,
we'll catch you on the dark side. Podcasting After Dark presents TV Obscura, a deep dive into underrated and unknown television shows from our youth. Cartoons, sitcoms, cop shows, and much more. Sit back and enjoy some nostalgic fun with TV Obscura.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first TV Obscura of 2026. Yo, what's up? We're back, baby! Woohoo! With the most traumatic TV movie of all time. I am 1/3 of the TV Obscura team, Corey, a.k.a. Sleazy C. Joined with me as always my two brothers from other mothers, Zach the Total Snack and Schaefer, and Diallo the Armageddon Jackson. And that's right, we are going to be reviewing The Day After, 1983. Boys and girls, woo! This movie traumatized an entire generation of kids, and we are going to talk about it. Diallo, kick us off, man. Did you watch this in real time? Do you remember it? And what did it do to you?
I do remember it in real time. It was a really big, huge thing. I was traumatized. I actually think I only remember like snippets of it the first time around, and I think I watched it again. Fully remember watching it in high school because I was like sixth grade or so when it first came out. And it was that was a little too intense for me, but I remember like all the imagery. I just remember the most intense existential fear that I've ever had, watching people running and fire and the skeletons that etched in my memory. Like, but I say this sometimes about the 80s, like we kind of romanticize it a lot, but like I spent a lot of it thinking I was going to die in nuclear hellfire. So it wasn't like.
It's
like
no joke.
Really
that was no joke.
Yeah, like I really thought it, and it was just it was present all the time. I learned a few things about why that was, which was really interesting. We'll talk about around this movie, but yeah, it was a thing, and I remember when I finally watched it later. I mean, God, I had palpitations watching it just a couple days ago.
I watched it today, bro, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I feel things. I feel too much.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. Well, there's lots to say about like the whole deal, but it's a very powerful piece of film, and I think it's still, it still resonates, and there's a lot of good lessons in it. So
I 100% agree with you there. Zach, do you remember watching it like back as a kid?
I remember making it halfway through as a kid, and I think once the second half started, I was pretty freaked out and didn't want to watch any more of it. I think my mom probably protected me from the second half thankfully. It's one of the few things I got protected from back in the day, and that was apocalyptic death. So, yeah, I rewatched it again in 2004 because the company that I was with was very into wanting to watch like the most depressing movies of all time, and they're like, "Oh, we got to watch The Day After." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And I was like, I can't watch this anymore. And then watching it, I finished it today, and I was like, oh man, this might be the most depressing. This might be the most humorous episode based on the most depressing movie of all time
Yeah, yeah.
ever recorded. So yeah.
Agreed. I'm the youngest of y'all, so I mean everyone knows it goes Diallo, Zach, then me. I don't remember when I watched it, but I recognized everything from it, and it's just one of those pieces of media that seems like it's been with me my entire life. It first aired in '83, so I was 5 years old at the time. I don't even know if I watched it in its entirety at that point. Diallo, you made a reference to it being aired later. How often did it get re-aired? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I mean, it's like the 80s. I think it came back around
Yeah,
at some point. It might have been around 87 or so, 88.
Right.
I remember being in high school and watching it because I remember yeah, I remember that's when I had the really distinct I was matching up the images that I had seen when I was younger with the actual movie, and I mean, it still as terrifying.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, like
Yeah.
the images of the people getting like vaporized and turned into skeletons
Yeah.
is just burned into my brain. And then watching it now, it's amazing how quickly like the movie goes through that moment, but how
Hmm.
powerful it is. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I'm reliving everything. And yeah, like you said, in the '80s, a lot of things would get like replayed and everything. But before we get into the cast and crew, I have a little bit of a background on it. So The Day After was created by Brandon Stoddard, who would later go on to create Roots. It first aired on November 20th, 1983 on the ABC television network. This is probably why it got replayed a lot. More than 100 million people in nearly 39 million households watched the TV movie, making it the seventh highest rated non-sports show up to that point, with a 62% share of the viewing audience during the initial broadcast. That's fucking insane. The Day After was broadcast on Soviet state television in 1987 during the negotiations on the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. The producers demanded that the Russian translation conform to the original script and that the broadcast not be interrupted by commentary. So, I mean, on its initial, viewing of November 20th, 1983, it pulled in 62% share of the viewing audience that night with 100 million people watching it. Like, so of course they're going to get more, out of it later on down the years, down the road.
And I also read too that they aired it commercial free the second half because of the sponsors they could not get.
Yeah, they couldn't get
Oh.
sponsors. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fill us in on that. So no one wanted to sponsor the second half of the movie?
Yeah, because it was so dark and so depressing and so sad. Sponsors were like, "Nope, we no one's going to watch this part." Which
Yeah.
they did. They were afraid that they weren't, but they did.
Yeah, the creative producer had to really fight to get it made and stick to his guns to even have it appear the way that it did. It was definitely a uphill battle. I don't You might be covering some of this in your.
No, this is all I got, so please feel
uh
free to enlighten all of us.
Yeah, it was like the administration tried to stop that. You could see that happen
Yeah,
today.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the administration tried to stop it. Like Zach was saying, like they were like the advertisers, like no one wanted to touch it. Which um, I can. I could see that actually. You have this on TV and then there's like a Diet Coke commercial in the middle of it. It's like
Yeah.
and that makes it actually more powerful. I think not having any commercials on it. There was quite a bit of yeah, like sticking to their guns to have it like just be the way that it existed. And it actually needed to, like, it had an uphill battle, obviously. Like, I think I was reading there was an activist that actually had somehow gotten a copy of it and did like a tour and was showing it before it aired, to kind of like spread word of mouth to get people to actually see it. And because like there weren't like, it wasn't like there was like a media blitz about it, even though it was like kind of like I remember it being ever present, like everybody was talking about it when it was coming out, but it wasn't like networks were like advertising it or anything either. And then I think it was like, ABC. I'm not sure if that was, I don't know if ABC owned Disney or Disney owned ABC by that
I don't think
point,
so.
but ABC still was kind of like family,
Oriented.
oriented
Yeah.
channel. So it was just a whole thing,
Well, and also to put it into context for any younger listeners we have, because my wife, did kind of like watch part of it with me while I was watching it on YouTube, on TV, and she was like, "That, like, what, where did that air and everything?" I was like, on TV and everything." She's like, "Oh," she was like, "What was it rated?" And I was like, back then we didn't have like what we have now is like TVMA and all this kind of stuff. Like, you take for granted that like you watch a network television show, it'll still have some kind of TV rating on it. But back then we might have had a viewer discretion advised before it, but there was no TVMA, TV, whatever rating for it. It was just, I mean, it was the Wild West, guys and gals out there.
Yeah, I don't even think there was advised on that one. It was more at the end of the movie and that was just a part of the movie itself. But yeah, it was whew. I know I just I like I said, I went through a lot of that decade just like thinking I was gonna get killed by, like, if it wasn't like nuclear weapons, it was like, it was like we were at war with Libya, not war, but I remember doing strikes on Libya, and it was just, gosh, it was like, it's like, I mean, I joke around, but I'm like, yeah, I think I like the 90s better, actually. Those were
Yeah.
like mostly good times, at least in the United States, were mostly good times, but it was very intense.
Well,
Very
this is
intense.
also a decade of made for TV movies and after school specials that were meant to inform, but maybe intentionally or not intentionally terrify, and a year later, I think on ABC, they made a movie about incest starring Ted Danson and Glenn Close, and was horrible. I know my first name is
Corey's
Steven,
face.
yeah, look that up, by the way. That trailer is a trip because the little girl's like, my daddy wants to have sex with me, and you're like, oh my god, it's
Good
Ted Danson.
God. No, not Ted Danson. No.
Yeah, sorry. Cue that Cheers music. Some place we want to go. Anyways, you got that. You've got, I know my first name is Steven, about like a kid being kidnapped, and it's terrifying.
I remember you talking about that one. Yeah.
That one, or the story about Adam, like the missing kid, like all these horrible stories that were meant to inform and ultimately educate and warn us, and I think this is the mother of all of those, where you're just like, the three of us lived during that time. I don't know if you did, Corey, but there were like bomb raid drills at school where you had to get under your desk to protect yourself from nuclear war. Like, that's not going to do anything other than scare the crap out of a little kid.
Yeah, I don't have recollections of doing the get under your desk thing, and I don't know if it's because I was closer to DC. Like, I grew up right outside of DC. I think we all just knew that we were vaporized. Like, and then but going to what Diallo was saying, maybe it's because I lived so close to Washington DC. I lived in this existential dread of my entire childhood of the 80s, assuming that at any point in time I would go outside, I was going to be vaporized because it was just going to happen. You know what I mean? So maybe, and I'm a little bit younger, so maybe they stopped doing those at a certain time, or they did them and I was too young to sort of remember them. But my mom has stories, and her sister have stories about Basically they would do, and so this was of course like the 60s, right? So and when they were in like middle school or high school or whatever, and they would have to do air raids, and they would have to basically run out of the school and run home. And people would be like, and they think they only did it like once, and people were like, "This is stupid." Like kids would get home, and no one was home, so they'd be knocking on the door, and kids are screaming and crying, like, and of course the teachers, the school didn't announce that they were going to do this because it had to be a surprise. So they were like, that didn't really work. But my mom and her sister, my aunt, have these memories of shit like that, and it's like, holy shit. Maybe we've all just lived with existential dread every generation has it, Now all the kids are afraid of being molested by the pedophiles in charge. Like, my God, it's madness, guys and gals. It's madness.
Pedophiles in charge of our days
and our nights.
Hey, yeah, so like it's funny because like when I was in school, we did drills under our desk, but we didn't do them for nuclear warfare. But I remember watching videos all the time of kids in like the 50s and 60s doing that. It's like, was it stop, drop, cover or something like that? I
Maybe
remember seeing
mine
like
were
an animated,
tornadoes.
I saw an animated like thing about that. There's like a song or whatever.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, for us, we actually had earthquake drills in San Francisco. And like my brother's like he's like 9 years younger than me. And when he was in school, him and my sister, they had drive-by drills.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So it's like I guess what I'm trying to say is like it's like that is I think a mechanism that people use to like have kids feel like they're in control of
Yeah.
of whatever is like causing like a societal fear at that moment.
Zach, did
But
you ever have to do like a school shooter drills when you were teaching?
As a teacher, the lockdown drills were prevalent, and they still do them to this day, and I remember, God, the teachers being terrified and crying about having to do it, because it was right after Sandy Hook. I was doing it prior to that, after Columbine, and so, like, I was not a teacher at that time, but lockdown drills came out pretty soon after that. And, it's like, it's the same thing that tornado drills, like the earthquake drills. I remember those because all the tiles on the ceiling could fall on your head or whatever. And yeah, all of these things just mortified you as a child. And the younger you are, you hope to God you had a comforting teacher to make you not feel so freaked out about it. I'm so glad we did not have nuclear drills. However, this movie
was the nuclear drill.
was a nuclear drill. Watching it now re-traumatized me to the fact that we're like, well, this could happen today. This could happen today. No.
One thing I did want to say was, again, growing up in San Francisco, and I believe they still do it, I'm not sure, but at noon, Tuesdays at noon every week, they would do air raid sirens.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like in the middle of the day, all of a sudden you get that.
Yeah.
And it would go on for a minute or whatever. Yeah. And I had a friend one time. It started and he started like acting like he was like sleepwalking. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Time Machine, but whenever they did that, the Eloy started walking.
That's funny.
Yeah, but it was like, yeah, so I mean that was like a holdover. And actually at my high school there was a fallout shelter in like they probably weren't it wasn't really in use, but I remember there was a sign there.
Yeah,
with,
that
like,
nuclear sign. Yeah, fallout shelter with nuclear
the
sign.
fallout,
Yeah.
and it was like on the little side. And yeah, so I mean, like where I grew up, like because of, I mean, it was especially when I was growing up, it was like the Presidio and like the Navy there, and but there were a lot of in World War II, there were a lot of like Nike missile bases and bunkers up in the hills. As a kid, we used to climb up there and go into these bunkers that were in the ground, and like, well, it's completely unsafe, but but it was really fun. So they like it made it, but it made it even more like, oh my God, if something's gonna happen, it's gonna hit us.
Well, I mean, speaking of fallout shelters, this movie, reiterated everything I thought as a kid, which is I'd rather just be vaporized in the initial blast than deal with all that. But Zach, we got a pretty amazing cast and crew here. You wanna start off with the director of this movie?
Yeah, so he's familiar to a lot of people who are sci-fi fans.
He's done a few things.
He's done a few things. I believe it was 1982 when that movie came out that he's mostly known for. Nicholas Meyer is the director. He directed Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Directed actually several. He directed, speaking of time machines, Diallo. He directed Time After Time,
yeah.
in 1979, which I for some reason was convinced it was an 80s movie for the longest time because I saw it in the 80s. That movie's terrifying, by the way. If y'all have never seen that, it's H.G. Wells basically goes after Jack the Ripper, who has stolen the time machine, and David Warner is the Jack the Ripper, and of course Malcolm McDowell is H.G. Wells. It is terrifying. Mary Steenburgen is in it as well. I love that movie. Anyways, let's Star Trek 2, Star Trek 6,
all the good ones.
4. Yeah, like literally all the good ones.
The beloved ones.
Yeah, he is a tremendous director, and obviously really respect what he did with this movie.
And he directed, Zach, what was that movie, The Volunteers, or just Volunteers, not The Volunteers?
Volunteers with Hanks and Candy, which I think is more of a dramedy than comedy.
Tim Thomerson's in it, though.
He is. He always makes everything better.
My God, listen to our 80s Kids Unite episode that will be dropping later this month, and you'll know what we mean by that.
Yeah, he's Nicholas Meyer is a tremendously good director, and it's a shame that the studio didn't support his decisions in what he wanted to do. But I think what he did, what ended up on screen, is pretty damn close to pushing the limit as far as you can. Though there is things that they wanted to include, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that one after we go through all of this. But yeah, what do you have any other crew that stand out to you at all?
Oh, like this. I mean, Edward Hume wrote this. He passed away in 2023 at the age of 87. Television writer mostly.
Yeah.
Streets of San Francisco, Barnaby Jones. I mean, this movie is, what was that movie that George Clooney remade in black and white on CBS where the fighter pilot...
Good night and good luck.
No, the fighter pilot has the keys to basically Failsafe. Sorry, it's called Failsafe. It was originally with Walter Matthau, I believe, was the original one. It's also made for TV movie. Like these movies have to be so technical because of what they're dealing with, and this script is so good. Like he captures, I feel like he captures literally the emotions of everyday folks. This is supposed to have like a documentary feel to it. I feel like it totally captures that in the script. So
and like script wise, he does he does like everything that I love about Roland Emmerich movies, which like the first half of it is like this amazing build up with these character, all these characterizations. You get to learn all the characters you're going to know. And he starts slowly adding in this dread, the conflict. It starts off in the background on some radios, and then it just keeps coming forward to your face. And I think that's a lot to do with the writer. I do want to really quick call out the cinematographer, the director of photography, Gain Rescher. This movie looks amazing. It does not look like a made-for-TV movie, and this guy was the cinematographer of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. So I mean, he is a filmatic cinematographer working on a made-for-TV movie. This does not feel like a made-for-TV movie at all.
And that matters when you have a director and cinematographer who've worked on projects before. Like if you look at Dean Cundey and John Carpenter, or, I think the same can be said for like Walter Hill movies, anyways.
Yeah, and also too, like obviously Star Trek 2 it's a very technical. You're going to have to understand special effects if you're going to be the cinematographer. And clearly the same goes for here as well. And like the nuclear explosion stuff looks great. None of it looks like it's a television production, you know?
No. And this film, it is the first time film for a lot of actors, or like kind of some of the actors in this movie are first. This is one of their first appearances ever on screen. But it is jam packed. You know, you talk about Roland Emmerich movies, but I think of like disaster movies, right? Diallo, like Earthquake and Towering Inferno and Poseidon Adventure. I wouldn't well, I guess you could lump this into it. It's just the darkest of disaster movies.
Well, I think that was the point. And I get it. I'm gonna rant a little bit. I'm sorry.
Sure, go
I'm
for
gonna
it.
apologize ahead of time. But I think that was the point of this movie, was that it was supposed to be, like you mentioned the disaster movies, but it was supposed to be from the people's perspective instead of like this big global thing. And you mentioned a lot, the cast, a lot of them, it was their first time. I mean, literally they cast a lot of the people from, was it Leavenworth, Kansas? Like they were like just
Yeah.
random locals. They made an effort to cast it locally, which gave it a more of that documentary feel that the movie has. So that it just like all of that lent to that idea of it, like just kind of really focusing on the characters and all the stuff that they were kind of their everyday things that they're going through, and you kind of buy it a little bit more. You don't get taken out as much when you like, you know, when you see certain actors, you're like, oh, that's the actor. But like for the rest of them, it's just like, oh, that's a person. And so yeah, that was the whole point, especially at that time, because like yeah, like Earthquake and those movies, it was like those were huge at the time.
Yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. And I think it's hard to, you know, those all had somewhat of happy endings, I guess, but always had the same
Yeah.
kind of the same plot devices ultimately.
There was a moment of like, oh, we overcame
Yeah.
in a lot of those movies, and
Not with
one
this
of the
one.
things I love about
This one
is,
doesn't have that.
yeah, I love that about this.
This has Guttenberg losing his hair.
God, I mean, so this is one of his first movies, but yeah, let's start off the top. Jason Robards.
Cable Hogue, baby, our boy.
I mean, like I will never unsee him. I watched it recently and it's not as good as I remember it from my childhood, but as the father in Something Wicked This Way Comes,
Okay.
and ultimate hero in that film, he's such a vulnerable like character, and he's such a great actor. If you've never seen him in Magnolia, he's amazing in Magnolia. I love that movie, by the way. That's another hard one to watch too, but he's just so good. You know, the dad in Parenthood, like you said, Cable Hogue, Once Upon a Time in the West. If y'all have never seen Once Upon a Time in the West, one of the greatest Westerns of all time. And he is, he's just got like a warmth in his eyes. And like, he's like the dad you all want, you know?
Yeah.
He's like the dad, or he's the adult that you want to steer the ship. Like, and he does in this. And, it can make me cry without giving them that onion at the end of the movie. You know what I'm saying? So, JoBeth Williams, look, I've had a crush on JoBeth Williams ever since I saw her in the movie Teachers.
Oh, okay.
And if you've
Is
never
that what
seen
made
that,
you go down that path?
actually, yeah, I wanted to be Nick Nolte in that movie. If y'all have never seen Teachers, y'all got to see Teachers.
I'm adding that one to my letterbox to watch
Dude,
this.
I'm
man.
telling you, that movie is packed. It's got Crispin Glover, Ralph Macchio, Nick Nolte, Judd Hirsch, JoBeth Williams. It's Laura Dern. Like an amazing cast and killer soundtrack. Don't be surprised if that comes to $2 late fee at some point.
1984.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Teachers.
Oh,
She's
I
great.
recognize it's like got an apple with a wick, sort of fire wick, you know, like
Yes.
it's a stick of dynamite, but it's an apple. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
It's so
okay.
like so good, so good. There's so many great actors. Mulligan, Richard Mulligan, or he was on that show Empty Nest, I believe it was called.
Oh
back
yeah,
in the day.
I remember that show. Yeah.
Anyways, great movie. I mean, she's great in this. Not a very big role though.
No.
But anyways, we won't spoil too much, I guess. But Steve Guttenberg,
The Goot.
one of his first movies. Oh man, He lost his home too in the Palisade fires, and he was one of the guys that was like saving people, helping people. If you don't follow him on social media, you should. He's on Instagram, and he posts these like little 10-second sound bites of just being grateful and something positive all the time. He's a guy you want to just hang out with, Mm-hmm. I hope he's cool in real life. He seems like
he seems like he is. He seems like he's the real deal.
I'm gonna jump over some people.
Yeah, just hit the big ones, Yeah.
John Lithgow, John Lithgow. God, there was a time when I think so many new, young people probably only know him as an older actor from the stuff he's done, but this was like one of his first roles too. And
he looks the same.
He doesn't age. Side note, he's playing Dumbledore in the upcoming Harry Potter television series, and I'm like,
oh, is
okay,
he?
Sure. Oh. He's like the guy. I look at him now, and I think he kind of creeps me out now, but back then I'm like, he's like the guy I would want as my science teacher. That's the guy,
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Sure.
Was he in Footloose? Was he the?
He was a jerk in Footloose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the town preacher or whatever. The guy that was kind of
He's so good in Harry and the Hendersons though, and
in Raising Cain.
Creepy in Raising Cain, and creepy in he was in another Brian. Well, great and that we've talked about Cliffhanger.
We wanted more of a muscle guy to be a bad guy in that one. I think he's always great. Like I love John Lithgow and I always like to watch him, but I don't want him to be the villain against a muscle man like Sylvester Stallone. Like I want another muscle person to be a villain so they can go head to head and fight.
I agree. He's really good on was he played a serial killer in Dexter.
He was about to say, he was in Dexter. Yeah.
Oh, he's so good in that.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's great. Amy Madigan has a small but very pivotal role in this. She's so good, man. Besides Weapons.
Yeah, I know. I mean, she's having this great resurgence. Isn't she getting like an Oscar nomination for Weapons or something?
She better if she hasn't. She
was amazing as Aunt Gladys. I pointed that out with when Myra and I were watching. I was like, hey, it's Aunt Gladys. Zach, I do want to call out really quick. BB Besh. We saw her in Tremors. She was the lady that was in the car that gets eaten, like the doctor's wife. I just wanted to call that out because we just saw her in Tremors.
Yeah, I mean, she's actually had a really solid career. She's kind of, and I don't mean this the way it sounds, but it's just gonna sound bad. She's like the poor man's Dee Wallace. From
dude, dude. When I saw her, I was like, "Is that Dee? Nope, that's not Dee Wallace." But,
I thought that was her too when she first came on screen.
Dude, 100%. She's got the same vibe. It's the poor man's Dee Wallace. Yeah. It's not that's not an insult. It sounds like an insult, but it's not an insult.
She was in Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah.
And she was in Steel Magnolias. I cry every time I watch that movie. It's really good.
Did she play Kirk's wife?
Ex.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of connection there, obviously, with the director. And by the way, Amy Madigan, y'all, if you've never seen Streets of Fire or Field of Dreams, she's great in both, and she's been married to Ed Harris for like 30 years or something like that. So
I saw Streets of Fire with you, didn't I?
And Stoney Jackson.
Yeah, Stoney Jackson. I was just talking about him the other day.
Yeah.
We got Stoney Jackson coming up at the end of the month too.
Oh, we do. That's right. He's coming back as far as being in one of the things we're talking about.
Yep.
So there's a couple other acts. Stephen Furst has a very small role in this. I think y'all know who Stephen Furst is from Animal House. He had a bit part. Arliss Howard is another accomplished actor who has a bit part in this. Is one of the military guys who goes down into the safe bunker or whatever. At one point, Arliss Howard's great. If you don't know who he is, look him up. I do want to point out Arthur Ashe is a newscaster in this.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah. It was so random. I was like, is that Arthur Ashe? Like, what's he doing?
Yeah. This so like kind of just out of left field, but that's cool that he's in this. There's an actor named Jeff East, and if you look up his IMDb, you're like, I have no idea who that is.
It's an unfortunate picture of him.
It's an unfortunate picture. It's like a guy who took a selfie but didn't realize he took a selfie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Where's the button to push it?
And That's 100% what it looks like.
He played young Clark Kent in
Yeah.
Superman, and
Yeah.
he's in this for a cup of coffee. But I'm like, oh, he really did have blonde hair. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, back in the day.
He was also in Pumpkinhead as well, which I do enjoy that movie. But yeah, his character is interesting because it's like there's a few characters in the movie where you spend the first half of the movie with them, and they're like pivotal to the story and everything, and these character interactions and connections that this movie has, and then he's one of the ones that just gets vaporized in the initial blast, and I'm like, oh yeah, where is that? The guy that was running up the street? Yep, that's him. He's gone.
Yeah.
He was Superman.
Yeah, that's what makes it more powerful. It was funny watching that too, because I was like, he looks so familiar. I thought he was like from some other like movie, but then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute, is that Clark Kent? And I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh my god,
he kind of looks like a blonde Lance Guest a little
Well,
bit.
I was just gonna say,
exactly.
I was thinking you guys might have thought he might be Lance Gass because they could be brothers.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah,
be.
I mean, even when the Last Starfighter first came out, I thought it was
Yeah,
me
actor.
too.
Yeah. For the longest time, I thought it was him.
Look,
So,
all white people look the same. So
I mean,
you said it, not me.
absolutely.
well, in this they all do because they all go bald.
They all go bald.
Oh man.
Hey everybody, Corey here. I just want to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages.
Have you been wondering where's the beef? Well, on our podcast, Throwback Trivia Takedown, you might just find that out, as well as some other things about the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
We're a nostalgic-based trivia show that pits two challengers head-to-head in a duel of the decades, with categories ranging from movies, TV and music, to slang, food, and fashion. You're sure to get the best in retro-themed trivia.
So strap on your jelly shoes, grab a Surge, and walk like an Egyptian to your favorite podcast app and check out Throwback Trivia Takedown.
I heard even Mikey likes it.
And now, back to the show.
Anyone else from the cast or crew, Zach? Or do you want to tell us about the stuff that they deleted from the film?
Well, I wanted to. I mean, look, there's a lot of other people where you go, oh, I know that person.
Right.
But that's kind of the bulk of like main actors. So Corey, you mentioned that this movie's very brutal to watch during the vaporized scene, during the bomb drop scene. Yeah. So when production began, the nuclear attack scene was actually supposed to be longer, and it was supposed to feature extremely graphic yet very scientifically accurate shots of what happens to a body during nuclear blast. Some of the examples include being set on fire, flesh carbonizing, being burned to the bone, eyes melting, faceless heads, skin hanging, deaths from flying glass and debris, limbs torn off, being crushed, blown from buildings by the shockwave, and people in fallout shelters suffocating during the firestorm. Also cut were images of radiation sickness, as well as graphic post-attack violence from survivors such as food riots, looting, and general lawlessness as authorities attempt to restore order. There are pieces of all of that in this. I think what they did include is graphic enough. I don't think they needed to go the threads route, which is what Diallo and Corey and I were talking about like offline before we jumped into this movie.
Yeah, guys and gals, around the same time, there was the UK version of this called Threads, and we were at one point maybe thinking we should cover them both together, but I think we should have David on for that one and have it as sort of a separate thing.
I don't think we need to do another one.
Yeah, okay, maybe like a couple years from now, guys and gals, we need to decompress from this. But
maybe
Zach,
we can do like a postscript after there is an actual nuclear
right?
war, and then we can compare.
Jesus,
we could be
please.
like, okay, how accurate was this movie compared to what's going on outside right now?
So, Zach, everything you just mentioned, like the melting eyeballs and all that kind of shit, there's this an animated movie that came out in 1983 in Japan called Hadisha no Gen, and it basically it shows what happens during the nuclear explosion of in Hiroshima and in Nagasaki, and it is a page that we follow called Retro Sci-Fi Art actually posted the whole clip on their page today. And it just shows all of that, dude. And it's, it's kind of cute animation, almost, like Studio Ghibli style, but it's so gruesome. Like, ladies holding her baby and like their skin is getting blown off and her eyeballs are melting out. And so like everything you just described that they wanted to show in this movie, they showed in that anime. And I'm glad we didn't see that in this because, let's talk about our experience watching it now, because I was surprised at how effective this movie was now. I was surprised at how well it holds up. I was fully expecting us to go into this review being like, okay, that was quaint, that was silly, all of our memories are silly. I was like, no, this is a good movie from beginning to end, well made, well shot. I cared about every single fucking character, and I am happy that they didn't show that level of gore when people were dying. I mean, just the flashes of their skeleton, I think is effective enough. Like, it like, overly effective. Like, it works, you know what I mean? And then this whole second half of this movie being just this, watching everyone you cared about in the first half of the movie that actually survive, just basically walking around dying with their skin falling off and their hair falling off and getting all kinds of sores and pustules and just it did such an amazing job of making people look like walking death that I'm the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, I can't believe this was on fucking TV in 1983. Like, this is fucking insane. I walked away from this film feeling like in the pit of my stomach, disgusted, but not like, oh, that was like, not like in a hostile way or a human centipede way, but like, oh my God, like reality, like we're close to this at all points in time way. And this movie is so well done way, But yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked at how good this movie was, to be honest with you. And I watched it on a shitty ass like YouTube quality. Like I think there's a Blu-ray out there of it. I would actually like to own. I don't know if I could stomach watching this too often, but I wouldn't mind watching it again at some point.
You would?
I know, maybe another 20 years or something. But yeah, I mean, Diallo, you've seen it obviously a few times when you were younger, but watching it now, like how quality-wise, how does it hold up?
Yeah, I mean, my memories of the nuclear destruction, I don't know why, I totally forgot about the like the skeleton X-ray vaporizing scenes. I always distinctly remember the scene where the person was running and they like catch on fire and like kind of explode. I'll never, that was the part that traumatized me as a kid. But like seeing, like I think, like to your point, I think it works better that way because if you do too much, it kind of takes you out of it. Like if they kind of went all big and gross and stuff. It's like when I watched horror movies today, like it never bothers me because I'm always like, oh, it's just makeup in my head.
Right.
But it was like so quick and just so like the way they did it too, because some people were kind of just they you saw the explosions, but then it kind of cuts to the people being vaporized. And it's like, where did that come from? And then other people weren't. Some people were running and they were okay. And anyways, it was like chaotic, right? And so it didn't linger too much on it. But yeah, I thought it held up. I thought it held up really well. The first half of it, I mean, I did think it was kind of a product of its time, and that it still had it had very much like a stage play feel about it, and a lot
Yeah.
of the scenes when they were inside and stuff. But that's like par for the course watching a lot of movies, TV movies, and other stuff at that time. I was really impressed by the scenes with like the rubble,
Yeah.
especially like
Yeah.
especially like then, right? Like I mean, I was like, this is for TV. Like, I don't think where did they do this? I think they
Right.
probably shot those parts in LA somewhere. But I would like, it was just, yeah, it was like, like, it's still, I was like, we need to like have people watch this now again.
We need
Like,
people to be scared again.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, we need people like this is, and you know, that like when that movie came out, I read, I think it was in like Ronald Reagan's diary, I think, where he, after watching it, after screening it, he was depressed, and that changed how he approached talking about Russia because up to that point, I mean, I had been kind of wondering why in the 80s we had this like rising tension again with Russia through the whole decade. And as it turned out, it was because of Ronald Reagan, because he was trying to like show this like strength through force or whatever, and then that caused Russia to like kind of build up, and that's why there was a lot of that tension. That movie caused them to believe in dialogue, and the same thing with Russia. I think when Gorbachev came into power, and I think that's a piece of why they showed it in Russia in '87. But then after that, they started to actually like it just became very real about the what could actually happen. And I think even like today, people get really caught up in their the jingoism, and they have all these ideas, and it's all about this ego and flex, and they don't really contemplate the the downside of what can happen if we follow through on all of these things. So
Right.
watching this movie, like it definitely it stops you, and you're just like, whoa, 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 wait a
I mean,
minute.
proof, in the power of cinema. And I tell my nephew, Gray Bear, this a lot, like, I believe in the importance of cinema. Not every
Hmm.
movie is equal as far as like
Yeah.
importance goes, but
Well, Fast and the Furious is pretty.
it's just
I mean,
it's just
for
as
real.
important as this. But
Yeah.
like, some movies can break through, and
Waterworld.
this, Waterworld, it can be one of them. Zach, you did not show this to Bodhi, I assume.
Oh, hell no. And I wanted to point out, of all the people that are falling apart, it seems like the Asian doctor is the one who survives, and he's going to be okay. Calvin Jung plays him, by the way. He was in RoboCop. He had a small role in RoboCop, and I think you recognize him in that if you saw him. But he's also really good. I mean, like you said, I agree with you, Diallo. There's a lot of, this feels like a stage play, the way they're acting, and that's par for the course for this time. As diverse-ish as this cast is, because it takes place in Kansas, right, in Kansas, or
Kansas, yeah.
As diverse as I guess you can get in that area during this time, I am glad that it's mostly white people that they're showing, because I feel like white people are the ones that need to be terrified of this, because those are the ones in power, mostly. So then, and unfortunately now, and those are the ones who should be shaken to their core. I do really appreciate that this film, and I don't know if it was controversial or not, but it has like words from the president in the movie. Like, he delivers an address, and it kind of falls upon deaf ears, which I think is great to see, because because they're like, dude, you don't get it. You're not here dealing with this. We are. And I feel like that's very realistic. I in 1983, when we were, sensationalizing and putting things with a Vaseline lens, trying to make everything seem like, kind of cute and cartoonesque or whatever. This was like, kind of took the gloves off and said, well, this is what it's gonna really be like, and felt like it didn't pull any punches because of that. I'm glad. I feel like it does hold up overall, and I don't need to see any other movies of this ilk, though I will at some point in this episode bring up the 80s specifically had a flood of apocalyptic nuclear war type movies. It started in 79, but like, this was a growing trend. This is right at the beginning of all these movies, but we got blasted with so many fear-based, like,
No
this
pun
could
intended.
happen. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I just want to say that a scene that I actually found like the most interesting, and going into the movie, I never would have thought this would have been it, but it was towards the end of the film, and since Kansas is such an agricultural, based state, and their economy and everything, there was this like a scene where, I don't know who they were, townspeople were meeting with like other farmers, and they were like, okay, you're going to have to, basically till your soil and de-irradiate it, and this and that, and telling them what to do. And we got to make crops that are more edible for humans. We don't need to worry about animals. And the farmer's like, okay, so I get you, but like, how do you decontaminate your soil? And they're like, well, you're gonna have to shave off the first like 6 inches of the soil. And the other farmer's like, okay, where do we put the contaminated soil that we're talking like hundreds of acres we're shaving off and so like, just the idea, like they were like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, we understand what you're telling us to do, but you need to tell us how to do this. Like, okay, we get it, but how do we do that? How do we decontaminate the soil? And the guys are like checking their notes, and they're like, well, the government's going to send us a task force. And they're like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, this is not happening, and just like this idea that like, what do we this was even scarier than just the vaporization. It's like living afterwards. It's like, what do we do? No, someone tell me, what do we do?
Right. And that, what that scene reminded me of? What happened specifically in Altadena last year with the fires.
Literally.
Because they, for those that don't know, not only, the rebuilding process, you have to, because of the fires obliterated everything, think about all the batteries, all the chemicals that seeped into the ground. And, representatives came in there and said, well, yeah, you got to dig, 5 to 6 inches below, like they say, literally like they say in this. But here's the thing. If you want it to be really safe, you have to dig an additional 4 to 5 inches, which is like 10 inches under the ground. But the government's not going to pay for that. And you have to pay for that out of pocket because that's that's where they can get away with, at the 6 inches.
Like an average person, listening to this is like, oh, 6 inches, that's not a lot. But think about an acre of land, you having to take 6 inches of dirt off the entire acre.
The entire acre.
Where do you put that fucking dirt? Like,
and you got to pay for that probably.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, it may sound like literally inches, but when you're tilling a soil, it's huge. That's massive.
I was just today was talking to someone that's home burned in Palisades, and she was saying how the Army Corps of Engineers, or whatever, they came and they did their assessments of the ground, but like nobody trusts that the ground is actually okay. So they're just like, we're gonna wait a few more years before they start rebuilding in some instances. But that kind of speaks to like how people interact with or think about the government, right? So, and that's basically what was happening in this movie, where in that one scene you're mentioning, like the people were just like what are you gonna do, while the president's just giving his speech, from a safe bunker somewhere, and whatever,
right? Fresh drinking water and everything.
Yeah.
And I want to piggyback on what Diallo you said earlier, as far as like what horror does now versus then, which I think horror now can learn a thing or two from what we saw in this. I think of like something like The Walking Dead, that infamous scene where they're sitting around the campfire and, everyone gets killed or whatever, like the Negan, with the baseball bat. Like that was the big thing when, oh my God, when that scene happens, or how graphic are they going to go? And it was so over the top, and it was like too much, right? In my opinion, just like way too much. Anyways, like you didn't need to show that much to get your point across. This is like so depressing and sad without, you don't see limbs falling off, but it's going to happen. Steve Guttenberg, who we love, Mahoney, he's like one of the most lovable, like leading men of the 80s as far as comedies are concerned. And this guy's, and he's also a great character in the movie. Like he's a heroic person, and he's a really like, I love his character.
Yeah.
Because he never stops for one moment being a good person amidst chaos. There's looting going on. He doesn't participate. The one girl, she lost her fiance, and the Clark Kent guy, he kind of like helps her cope with that. Like he's such a good character in this. Anyways, his body's falling apart. By the end of it, he's got scabs all over his face, and you're like, oh my God, this is so rough. Steve Guttenberg, I think, really broke me.
Well, I like that one airman who tried to run get back to his family. He obviously
Yeah.
never made it. Played by William Allen Young. He was also in like Lock Up. He was in District 9 and whatnot.
he's
So like,
great.
he's great. But I like how he just like helps this like one homeless guy up for like a little bit and kind of like really tries to protect him. And then of course they're gonna. It's like the movie's also showing you these micro moments of people trying to maintain their humanity,
Right.
and do the right thing. And it, there was one moment of bad shit happening where the dad gets killed by like sort of looters, but
That was something else, man.
Dude,
that
that
was
was
something
horrible.
else.
but the funny thing is, I was fully expecting that to happen now because that's a Walking Dead trope, 100%.
That is such
Yeah.
a trope.
But I
yeah.
imagine back in '83 that was much more shocking. Like I 100% expected it to happen now, but if you're watching that in '83, you're probably like, "Oh my god!" But then even at the end, when Robards, Cable Hogue goes back, to his home that's gone, and he tries to kick this family out, like he's like, "Get out of my house!" It's all rubble. There's no house there, and this family's under a tent, and of course he realizes, he's like, "Oh," he starts crying. I like how the dad of that family just walks over to him, kneels down, and puts his arm around him, and it's like, that's your happy ending. That's your hopeful ending in this movie. That's what it ends on, and that's the happiest that it's going to get, is that maybe before your skin rots off, you're going to have an interaction with another human being that isn't going to be horrible. You know what I mean?
It's interesting that you call it a trope, because I think that's one of the things that annoys me about a lot of like zombie movies, where they kind of lean on that now.
They totally
they always
do.
try to, but they always try to like
Yeah.
tell you something about, the real threat's people, and
Yeah,
it's
we are the Walking Dead.
Yeah, and it's like, God, come on, whatever, dude.
The zombies are the threat. Come on now.
yeah, like, come on.
Yeah,
that's just because
yeah.
you can't. Like, it's just too expensive to keep doing the zombies. That's really.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah,
makeup.
yeah. But in that particular scene, I think that the one of the reasons why this movie works so well is because I think even like you don't have to do all the gore and stuff to kind of drive the point home, is because the first half of the movie you spend time with these people in a very real way. Like they're all the facet of their lives. It's you have the Clark Kent and his girlfriend. They're just kind of like these wild kids running around, like, were they about to get married? And they're like,
yeah.
but and then Jason Robards' daughter, was his daughter?
Yeah,
His
daughter was
daughter,
going to
yeah.
move to Boston with
She
her
was hot.
boyfriend.
She was hot, by the way.
Yeah, she was. She was
I
hot. Yeah,
digging her.
she was a brunette hot. Yeah,
Yeah. Ooh.
No Joe Beth Williams.
that is true. That is true.
But yeah, like she was gonna go away, and I think that there was like scenes of her a little bit later, and they never reconnected. It was,
Well, I think right. I mean, that's
right. Yeah. But it was
So
just, I mean, but
sad.
that's it brings that, but that's what it would be like, right? Like we have these connections with all these people. But it's like like anything happens, and I might just not be talk. My Facebook got suspended. I'm not in connection with anybody anymore, and so it's like I don't know what's going on, But anyway, like it spends so much time dealing with just the people living their lives, and then it makes that turn. And so when you're in the moment when it's turning, you're with these people, right? And it happens so fast
yeah.
that like when you're watching them scramble and try to catch up with reality, I think that's why it really hits home. Like it's just such a visceral feeling, like whoa, what's happening? Wait a minute. And before you know it, it's over.
And
Yeah.
I think what helps is that in the first half, the characters are not like overly dramatic. You mentioned the girl and her boyfriend. They're gonna they're engaged. They're gonna get married like in 2 days or something. And she was out all night with young Clark Kent. And she comes home, sort of sneaks in, not really though. And dad catches her, and he's like, they get in a little bit of a in their face type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, Dad, I'm getting married to this guy in like 2 days. And she's like, I'm not a sneak. I never sneak around. I walked in the front door, and by the end of the little scene, Dad's like, you're right, you're not a sneak. And like it was not like this, like, oh, I'm gonna hit you. Like they didn't go big, they went, every character felt like a character that you knew, that you understood, and they didn't go overly dramatic. And I think that's what helps. Like there's no bad guy in it, there's no bad person Maybe that one person that shoots the dad at the end, maybe that guy, but you don't know anything about him. The
He's
first half of the
faceless,
movie,
yeah.
he's faceless. The first half of the movie, there's no jerk characters. Everyone is just a normal Joe Schmo, and, a third of them get nuked.
Well, I think that's a trope that you see in most disaster movies is there's got to be one guy that is,
The asshole.
whether it's Billy Zane or whether it's, but this is not, this is what sets this movie apart from those films because it doesn't do that. This is supposed to be like, this could happen to us, right? And we've all lived through some sort of horrible tragedy. We've all been in a situation where we didn't know what to do next, right? And this is like the bleakest of bleak, and it's really fascinating that this movie got made, if you think about it, and it got shown to such a wide audience. What did you say? 100 million people watch this? That's I know that's at this time in the 80s, pretty much everybody's watching this thing. Kids are going to bed crying because they're terrified.
I heard they had therapists or something for kids or at schools or something for it after.
Well, they did, surprisingly or coincidentally, because they shot it like a year or so prior. Mr. Rogers did an episode about the nuclear bomb.
Did he walk in and put a Fallout suit on?
I don't know. I never saw it, but
it's a beautiful day for him.
That was as kids of the 80s, that was our therapist, right? Our television therapist. But then you talk about they had a follow-up show right after this with a scientist and Carl Sagan was on one side and then another guy on the other who's the pro and cons basically, for and against nuclear armament. And they had a lot of follow-ups to this, which I think is important. And you think about nowadays, if you're going to have podcast hosts, giving their 2 cents.
I mean, we have podcast hosts making government policy now. So
which is so pathetic.
Zach, I want to your point of 100 million people watching in nearly 39 million households, 62% share of the viewing audience, when it aired. I'm trying to think of another movie nowadays like this. Maybe Don't Look Up. Remember a few years ago, Don't Look Up came out about an asteroid coming to Earth. And
the
no one would
Netflix movie.
That Netflix movie. But so that airs on Netflix, right? I'd be so curious as to how many people watched that type of thing compared to this. Because we always talk about back in 83, how many channels were there, for you to actually watch stuff? We were much more narrow focused on things. There's so much content today, and I don't know if you can get those numbers, now, in one sitting. Again, guys and gals, if you're younger than 30, think about it. 100 million people watching this at the same time, at the same time at night. Everyone's doing it. This is what people are doing.
Yeah, and Netflix isn't crashing on you if too many people.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I did want to point out. Sorry, I did want to point out it was Carl Sagan and William F. Buckley. Those were the two going back and forth. And William F. Buckley was, supportive of nuclear weapons versus Carl Sagan, who was not. And
that tracks.
Yeah, and then there were obviously other ones that popped up, but it's worth noting that amongst these different debates, the pros and cons of whether we should have nuclear bombs or not. There was one with Elie Wiesel and then Robert McNamara, Secretary of Defense, Brent Scowcroft, William F. Buckley, and Henry Kissinger, who called this. It's funny now to think of Henry Kissinger because people in this light realize that he's a piece of crap. He found this film to be simple-minded because we already know what the effects of a nuclear war would be. So, the voice of reason.
Victory. That's what it would be.
Lived till he was 100 too, so fuck that guy.
I saw a little clip of some government type or something saying how it was propaganda. You'll always have that part. You know what I mean?
You always have propaganda.
You always have those people out there just trying to talk it down, gaslighting you.
Yep. Zach, what you mentioned some other like the genre of the post-apocalyptic nuclear genre. We've covered a couple of those movies. Zach, we've covered DEFCON 4. That was technically part of the post-nuclear genre, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting some of the ones that stood out. I believe also, wouldn't you say that I mean, it's not nuclear, but the Night of the Comet kind of could fall into that like a subcategory.
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah, post-apocalyptic. And then
Right.
well, the funny thing is Mad Max, if you remember in Mad Max the first one and in the second one, it was a scarcity of oil that led to the collapse of mankind. But by Thunderdome, they turned it into nuclear
Bombs that
war.
fell, yeah.
Yeah, so they
Right.
changed it to fit what was more of the zeitgeist at the time.
Right, right. And I'm just going to list off a few. I'm not going to list all of them because some of them you might go, huh?
Is
But,
is A Boy and His Dog on there?
No, it's not actually.
Yeah,
The
I
China.
literally thought that was going to be the first thing you said.
Yeah, me
actually.
too.
And if you haven't seen, that's a young Don Johnson.
Yeah, and the person who directed that dude was great as well. But anyways, the China Syndrome, 1979,
Which
Jane Fonda.
was the inspiration
Yes.
for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. That movie terrified me as a kid. Still great. Silkwood with Meryl Streep and
Meryl
Kurt
Streep.
Russell and Cher, based on a true story. Unfortunately, Karen Silkwood. Testament, which I brought up to these two. If you've never seen Testament, that movie is really messed up. Threads, obviously, we mentioned as well. War Games, it's a nuclear war codes. The Day After. Manhattan Project in '86 with John Lithgow and Chris Collette from Firstborn fame. Let's see. DEFCON 4, which you mentioned. Chain Reaction came out in 1980 and didn't see that movie. Miracle Mile in '88 with Anthony Edwards.
You've been talking about that, Zach, since we've pretty much our first episode of Podcasting After Dark. And there's been a few nights, bro, where I was about to pull the trigger on it on Amazon Prime, but I think I went with like Forbidden World or something instead, or whatever, or Creature or Titan Find. But I always keep hovering around Miracle Mile. Is it worth checking out?
I mean, Miracle Mile, directed by Steve Desjarnais, who did Cherry 2000.
Oh, I like him. Yeah, I like that movie.
Soundtrack of Tangerine Dream did the soundtrack for it.
Okay.
Takes place in Los Angeles. It's a dark comedy. There's comedic moments, but it's with a nuclear war film. You know how it's going to end.
Shit. Yeah. Is Damnation Alley on that list?
That was
Yeah. No,
that was
it's
in
not.
the '70s, I think.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, yeah. But very much so.
Okay.
That movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are just a few of the from the list, but again, it's it's a what kind of night do you want?
Yeah.
Look, guys, it's TGI Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, even to an extent, the first Terminator, just the backdrop of it. Obviously, the machines, do it, but it's the nuclear warfare aspect of it.
Right.
That kind of, yeah. I mean, we tend to make movies that are about our fears, and so obviously in the '80s, that was the fear, and you can see some of those movies right up until the early '90s. Actually, was Crimson Tide was one, and well, the other the Hunt for Red October. There was
Yep.
it's like with the nuclear subs and that kind of stuff, just like the fear around East versus West.
Right.
So,
And of course, Superman: The Quest for Peace.
yeah, I literally was like, that was actually what I thought of earlier, because it's like, but it's like a joke, but no, because that was the whole thing, was like he went around the world to grab all the nuclear weapons, and that's what was up with people.
Too bad he didn't grab all the pedophiles. All the pedophiles in charge. Throw them in the sun.
Stop or I will hurt people. That
Oh,
was
boy.
the line from that movie. Yeah, the creator though he did he did like I remember like seeing a bit of him talking about how he really like I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Corey, where he really wanted to make something that mattered. And there's a line in the movie that he said, or it was either him or Nicholas Meyer said, it's like we want to show who we really are by making this. And I think it was a line in it. But he's committed to making like art or films that move people. And so you mentioned Roots because that like, you know, that was a phenomena in itself in
Oh yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
70s, right? So yeah, it's just that he wanted to find something else to do that had that same impact. And like boy did he, you know.
Yeah.
Um yeah, so it's like really about like really about doing something that matters. And he said something to the effect of like taking risks, like and the only way you're gonna do something that really matters is taking risks. And like this one was the biggest risk. Like it's like it really is amazing that it appeared at all. But it was also like I think it changed the course of the world actually, like, and
Yeah.
I'm like not hyperbole, but like I said, like we were headed towards something and this actually stopped the people in charge from like, you know, like saber rattling as much as they were.
So this movie was basically the equivalent of Ozymandias sending a giant squid into New York to stop the doomsday clock in
Yeah.
Watchmen.
And I you
A
know
lot less people had to die with it
yeah,
in our timeline.
that was actually you mentioned that earlier today. I was thinking about Watchmen because that's another
Yeah.
piece of art that came out of that era
Yeah.
where it was like about our fears and like what can stop
And
this.
what can possibly stop this is it has to be an existential threat. But clearly, this shows that it's that something earthbound and earthmade can actually make a difference too.
Well,
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say too, what all of these movies have in common is the sense of helplessness. Like you can't run from this, and
Literally.
yeah,
Some people
and
tried.
Not even Superman could do it.
I mean, go watch Miracle Mile. You'll see how close they get to a potential solution to their problem, and you see what the outcome is. I kind of don't want to spoil it for anybody. And that bleakness, like, give me this. If someone says, what's like the most depressing thing you can watch? The Mist? No, those are creatures.
Yeah.
This is more depressing than The Mist.
Yeah. Zach, just keep going with your final thoughts and everything on this. I don't think there's much else to say. Just how do you want to wrap things up here?
Going into this, I was like, there's, man, this is depressing as hell. And I don't even know if I can talk about this because it's so hard. But then I realized this is as relevant now as it was back in 1983, sadly. So, are we making an impact talking about it? Yeah, I think so, because we're keeping it fresh and, keeping the conversation going. Like, we all got to support each other and if we want a positive outcome for this world, we got to band together and make it so. And I try to be the most optimistic person on the planet. And you watch this, see someone like Steve Guttenberg, who is so optimistic, and he still gets vaporized. So like, let's all hug each other and not get vaporized, y'all.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what I was going to say too, is sort of the same thing. It's like, this movie's still important, and it's a shame that it's almost kind of forgotten about at this point.
Right.
We talk all the time about what is considered cult and what is considered obscure. You ask somebody, Zach, hey, you remember that movie Day After? And you're like, oh, of course, And then I was talking to somebody at Myra's work today at Trader Joe's, this guy that I talked to, Jason Green, cool dude, and he was born in 1976. He grew up in Long Beach. Zach, I recommended he go check out Kenny and Company because I think he would like that. But I go, dude, we're going to cover Day After on the show. You remember that TV movie? He's like, no, not really. And I was like, interesting. So it's like what's obscure, what's not, and everything. And I do hope, I mean, I you know, I don't think we're bigger than we are, but I hope that maybe this episode will get some people to maybe rewatch this movie and then maybe be like, hey, you need to watch this movie. And like we sort of start maybe a little snowball effect, because this movie should never have disappeared. This movie should be as important now in 2026 as it was in 1983. And like I said, I do believe you can find it on DVD or Blu-ray or something. So go out and check it out if you get a chance. It is depressing as hell, but I mean, so are other things that people revere, you know? Like, so are other movies that people are like, oh, that's a great movie, Schindler's List or something like that. It's like, but it's also depressing as hell.
Right.
This is too, and it needs to be up there with those other movies. And I hope in some small way we get just one person to rewatch it and then them to tell somebody else to go rewatch it and everything. So
Don't show a kid under the age of 13, though.
No, we don't need to re-traumatize people, but we can re-traumatize adults, though. I feel traumatized at 47 years old. I feel traumatized by watching it again. So, you know, I think it's important. I think this movie should be brought up, you know, into people's eyes and into the zeitgeist. Diallo, take us home, man. Take us home with your final thoughts.
Yeah, it's you know, in a lot of ways, like I noted this just about society or whatever, you know, from the 50s up till now when it comes to like how we interact with pop culture. It's like I think, you know, you take Superman, a lot of people are like, I hate Superman, he's boring, he's too good and whatever. But I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we're just way too cynical now. Like I always think like there's nothing wrong with Superman, there's something wrong with us, you know? And so, you know, it's kind of when I was watching this, I was kind of imagining like what if like this had come out today. And I think there's a layer of people being too cynical to like kind of take it in. But I think that the way that the material is approached, it still is sobering. It almost like stops you from like I don't know, just getting like whisked away into your idealism about like I don't know about whatever. And you know, good art changes the course of history. This is a piece that I think does that. I like Braveheart is a movie that did that for the people of Scotland. Um, Lethal Weapon 2. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but seriously, like good art can, and it's just again like sometimes the power of story. Like you know, sometimes a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a movie, whatever. But like no, like people put their ideals into things. People like, yeah, you know, it drives me nuts when people complain about like something being woke or whatever now. And it's like, dude, this stuff has been in stories all along. You just didn't know it because I guess you were a kid or whatever. But this is all here, and it's all trying to teach you something, you know.
Zach, what is that quote that you always say? Was it Steve Martin says in a movie? All of life's questions are answered in movies.
Yeah, from Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dal, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it just made me what you were saying. It made me think about that.
Yeah. So it's just this. I mean, this is a movie that does that. Like, you can kind of debate about or like talk about the quality because it was in the 80s, and you know it was like it was like a TV budget, but like if you look past all of that, it's still just very much like sobering. And I think it actually is really important for today, because I feel like things are spiraling now, and I think like we need something to make people stop, like everybody stop, like you know, like there's consequences to the shenanigans, you know.
Yeah.
I think right now people just kind of think that nothing bad can happen, but it's like no, let's watch this and kind of think about like what can happen, and let's maybe take a few steps back and kind of like think about
breathe.
how like, you know, maybe we can like turn the temperature down quite a bit. So
I do want to piggyback on that really quick because potentially it's hopeful. I don't know, maybe because it just popped into my head. There's a movie called Amazing Grace and Chuck that came out in the 80s. It starred William Peterson and Jamie Lee Curtis, and Gregory Peck plays the president. Came out in 1987. It's got an amazing cast in it, but also it stars Alex English, who plays a basketball player in it. Shocker. Anyways, it's a great movie. It's about a little kid who he lives in a town where the nuclear missiles are, and he doesn't want he doesn't want nuclear war. So he stops playing baseball, and it creates this ripple effect. And it's like it's a silent protest because he stops talking. And it's a really beautiful message that I think we all could really, use right now. So if y'all want a dinner mint after having to choke down this intense movie, go watch Amazing Grace and Chuck. Still pretty dark, but it's a little more hopeful than this one.
There's a scene in this movie where, right before the bombs are falling and they're all like the soldiers are like kind of going in the bunkers or whatever. And that whole conversation it was just like, what is this all for? Like,
right.
What are we doing?
Right.
Like, and I think that is the message.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's like, so you drop all the bombs and it's like, oh, okay. Now what?
Right, exactly.
Well, in Diallo, there's there's an idea that the director's thesis is always in the first act of every movie, and even though this one comes more towards the middle, you would say that maybe that is the director's thesis. Is that what is this all for? Like once you realize, even before it's happened, once you realize there's no unpushing that button. What is it all for? What was the point of all of that? This was the most sober episode we've ever done. Nary a joke. If you need a dinner mint after this episode, I implore everyone to go check out the first Noel Chronicles. Go check out $2 late fee. Go check out the brighter side of things. My God, this is barely a joke in this episode. I couldn't even figure out where to even make one,
I know. I was like, we're not going to joke.
It was a powerful fucking movie. It was a powerful fucking movie. And I hope this episode did it justice though,
Do not watch Grave of the Fireflies if you've ever seen that anime.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Post-Japanese. That's another one that's very much like,
it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah. Not.
Oh man, Zach, what's coming? Give us something fun coming out on $2 late fee in February after we drop this is not stinker, but this matzo ball on the table.
This isn't stinker. This is just like informative and hard to swallow. It's medicine. So February is Dustin's back with my buddy Chris Mayak. We did a episode about our favorite 80s teen rom-coms.
Nice.
And that is lesser known. Lesser known 80s teen rom-coms. And really fun episode. And I have these two brothers on, Adam and Matt Lupus. They directed a movie called All Is Fine in '89. It takes place right around the Berlin Wall coming down. They're Canadian, and they were, I think the oldest brother was born in '89. So their recollections of the '80s, it's simply a nostalgia kind of like retro. It's a dark film, but it's cool. It's a new indie movie that just came out, and I interviewed them about that. And there's a whole lot more fun stuff in February, but yeah, there's some lightheartedness for sure on $2 late fee.
And Diallo, you're dropping new episodes of First Noel Chronicles.
Yeah, I have a new episode that I need to edit and drop. I was supposed to do it a few days ago, but life was a little bit hectic. But I have chapter 3 coming out very soon, and looking for doing chapter 4, and after that, chapter 5. And then chapter 6.
And let me guess, chapter 7 after that, right?
It's going to be 1981 and 1982 and 1983.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment on Spotify. Let us know, if you remember the day after. Did it traumatize you as a kid back in the 80s? Check us out on Patreon if you want more fun content from Zach and I. And make sure you leave First Noel Chronicles and $2 late fee, a 5-star review wherever you listen to those guys at. So, whoo boy. Diallo.
Well, if you want to see another, story about people dealing with nuclear warfare that happens in an instant, go back and listen to older episodes of Galactica. Actually,
There you go.
because that's how that that series starts. I was having kind of flashbacks to the miniseries of Battlestar Galactica watching this because I was like, oh yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Love that show. All right, Diallo, as always.
Catch you on the obscure side.
Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can support the show by joining our Patreon page, picking up a t-shirt from our merch store, or leaving us a 5-star review. Follow us on Instagram at Podcasting After Dark. All links can be found on our website at www.podcastingafterdark.com. And join us next time for another cult movie or TV show review with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.
Hello, my name is Anna, and if you're into scary stories and creepy real-life happenings, then I think you will love my podcast. Let me tell you a scary story. Join me every week as I read to you stories of the paranormal that actually happen to ordinary people. These are things that can't be explained and don't always make much sense, and they are sure to intrigue and to give you the shivers. So join me on your favorite podcast listening platform and let me tell you a scary story.